In 1632, in the French town of Loudun, the Ursuline convent of Saint Ursule shut itself off as plague, and fear spread through the region, and the prioress, Sister Jeanne des Anges, Jeanne de Belsier, began reporting terrifying visitations in the night. The first stories came from the nuns themselves. One sister said she was seeing the apparition of her recently dead confessor, Father Moussant, and soon the convent was describing footsteps in empty corridors, unseen presences pressing down on their bodies, and shadows in rooms that should have been lit by candle. Then it escalated into public horror. Nuns began collapsing during prayer, convulsing, screaming, and shouting blasphemies in the chapel. The convent chaplain, Canon Jean Mignon, pushed for exorcisms, and Loudun began treating the convent like a cursed house inside holy walls, because witnesses described the women reacting violently to crucifixes and holy rites, as if something inside them hated what was sacred. During interrogations and the exorcisms, the spirits were given names and reports. Asmodai is the most famous, along with others that appear in the records, like Zabulon and Leviathan, turning the case into something that sounded less like sickness and more like an infestation with identities. The story spread fast, and the exorcisms became a spectacle. Crowds came to watch, and pamphlets carried Loudun's nightmare beyond the town. Then the terror found a human target. The nuns accused a local priest, Urbain Grandier, of sending the evil into the convent. Grandier already had powerful enemies, and the case was taken over by the king's commissioner, Jean de Laubardemont, turning the accusations into a legal machine. A high-level decree strengthened Laubardemont's authority and limited interference, and Grandier was dragged into a trial that moved like a trap closing. Exorcists worked the convent. One of the best-known later figures was the Jesuit Jean-Joseph Sourin, and the atmosphere only grew darker as the possessions continued in front of witnesses. On August 18, 1634, Grandier was convicted and burned at the stake, and the town expected the screams to end with him. But the most chilling, almost paranormal fact is that the case didn't stop. The possessions and exorcisms continued afterward, with accounts placing the public spectacle lasting until 1637, years after Grandier's death. Jeanne des Anges remained the center of it all, later claiming relief after a pilgrimage, and even appearing before powerful figures like Cardinal Richelieu and King Louis the Thane in 1638, as if the most haunted woman in France had become a living warning. And that's why Loudun still feels like paranormal horror even when you stick to real names and real events. The man they blamed turned to ash, and the convent kept erupting anyway, like whatever entered those walls never needed him at all.